My name is Harrell Riley, Mission Service Corps Missionary with the North American Mission Board, serving the state of Kentucky through our prison systems. As we get a closer look today at how to engage those facilities and the inmates that are across the state of Kentucky, I'm reminded that there's some 75,000 inmates that are connected to us that need to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ. In doing that today, we want to share with you some details on how you can engage the facility and the inmates in such a way that it's a successful transition for you being able to share the gospel. In preparing for the events at your facility, at the prison or the jail in which you currently are serving, there are a few things that we would like for you to know about and some things that would be a blessing and a challenge for you to take hold of in relation to the gospel distribution or just doing an event at that facility. In particular, you need to know that facility, know who's in charge, the chaplain, the staff members, the jailer, whomever you have to deal with on a regular basis to get that event done. It's your responsibility to know their personality, how they do business, the things that they require from you as you go in. And that's very important in getting the job done of being able to get your people in, doing what you have laid out as a purpose and a plan for the event that you're going to be doing. A good suggestion would be to visit the staff and lay out the plan at least a month ahead of time. Call, email them, make contact with them, and just sit down with them and tell them what you want, whether that is the jailer or whoever is in charge of that event itself. You definitely need to sit down with them and let them know what you're trying to accomplish in the process. It's our responsibility in serving those facilities to let them know that we care and that we want to get those things done, but do it on their terms. Contact lists are important. They are the list that we put together of the people who are going in, and a strong suggestion is to be sure that you have those in at least 2 weeks ahead of time. So that the facility and the folks that are in charge, whether that's internal affairs or persons that will have to deal with that and give you clearance, can get done with that in time to allow your people who are volunteering to know and allow them to know that you do have a definite plan. Usually in the state of Kentucky in different facilities there is about a limit of 30 per event. It may vary from jail or prison depending on who's in charge or the actual event, but you might want to keep that in mind as you're asking and challenging and encouraging people to be involved. Usually on that list they ask for you to give the name of the individuals that are coming, their date of birth and social security number. Usually that's required from all the facilities, and so you need to let your volunteers know that ahead of time so that you can make a proper list. Don't ask to add to the list after the deadline. Remember, you're a guest in that facility. You're doing what you're doing for the sake of the gospel, and those folks don't necessarily have to do what they're doing. So keep that in mind. It's proper to put those things in order so that it just flows smoothly, and we're asking them to do extra work. So be sure you do that. Be sure you take a copy with you the day of the event. Sometimes things get lost. You're prepared when you're there, when you do that, and it just makes things run smoother and more fluid when you go in. Keep the workers up to date on the event, meaning your volunteers. Use email, printed material. You may want to mail them something. Phone key people, different folks at specific churches that are in charge of small groups of people that are coming with you. Let them know ahead of time some changes, things that are going on, needs, process, whatever it may be that involves them getting into the prison and for the event that you're doing to be made successful. Find an off-site gathering place. We suggest a local church or a building close to the facility. That is so that you can set a plan and cover details of the day. Getting those people's minds and hearts connected to what's fixing to happen makes the day smoother, and you don't have to go through that at the facility. You don't have to have the staff and other folks watching what you're doing. You can be honest and open in those details so that you can share your heart about the ministry and the goal for the day, and you can keep it for lack of better terms, tuned to a spiritual context by doing it away from there. Go over the local rules and prep for entry. What I mean by that is have a printed copy of directions and rules ready at the meeting. Be sure that you focus on your prayer time. Specifically pray for the inmates, specifically pray for the desired outcome for that event and the things that you're trying to accomplish while you're there. Pray for needs and things that are coming up in the future in relation to what you're trying to accomplish at your facility. This is a good time when you're at that separate place to clear your pockets out, reduce the items that are taken in. Use a Bible that is empty, not in a Bible cover. The less that you have, the better. It keeps down on security checks. It keeps down on them questioning you about whether or not you know what you're doing. And while you're at that separate facility, that's a good time to get those things prepped and ready in turn. Ink pen and ID card is all that is really needed, and you want to have those in your back pocket. State ID or driver's license in particular. If you have certified volunteers or a specific entry card that they use at that facility, be sure folks have those prepped before you ever leave and get on the bus or whatever you're going on, so that you don't have to deal with that while you're at the gate. Have your response cards ready and hand them out then. Put them in their pocket with the ink pen. That way when the invitation time comes, or when you are going from cell to cell or engaging in inmates, you have that so that you can really get the information that's needed for follow-up. Consolidate to fewer vehicles. You might want to get some church vans. That's usually best. Less for the staff to have to watch. Again, want to really reiterate that we are guests in those facilities. We are there at the expense of the work and effort of the facility and the people that are working there. And we want to try to make that as easy as possible and raise as few questions as we can so that we can do what we're there to do. Be on time to enter the facility. You don't want them to wait. You don't want them to have to worry about what you're doing. We need to be a part of and become a part of the system that we're working with. If you're doing a mass distribution, those materials need to be done in several different ways. You may be doing a cell-to-cell operation where there are 1 or 2 inmates in a particular cell, in a cell block or in the facility. There may be a situation where you have to do a particular pickup point where you make reference to where you're going to be in a bullpen or just in the dormitory or a separate area of the prison, whether that's the gym or the chapel, and allow the inmates to come to you. It depends on the facility. Request of the facility, if you're going to give out a manufactured item. One of the ways to prompt and get those inmates and folks to you is to come up with something that you can give them that will allow them to be drawn to what you're doing. Don't allow this to keep you from doing the distribution. What I mean by that is we don't want that to end the process. Hard candy, envelopes, toothpaste, soap, those kind of things are a good item to draw the inmates so that you can talk to them, so you can share with them what you've brought in to share. Hard candy usually works the best with most of the facilities. You have to enter those as inventory. You have to get a count on things. So however your facility is set up and the rules that you've gone over with them when you originally set up this program is what you need to stick with. That inventory, whether that is those items that you brought or anything else that you could take in, is very important that you stick with that so that you don't have a problem as you go. Many of you who are engaged in this process of being able to share the gospel in the facilities are already in that facility, and you've done work there before. You know what's best in getting that material that you're handing out to the inmates. You use your best judgment on that. Items are a draw card to get their attention. Nothing more, nothing less. During that presentation time, whether that's a morning service for the revival or evening distribution the day before, those things that you're doing, they are to get us in a position where we can have a one-on-one opportunity to share the gospel with those inmates. Again, you know your facility. Ask what fits the schedule of that facility the best. Whether that is being able to do it 2 different days or whether that's doing it all on the same day. You know your facility. Work with the chaplain, work with the jailer, whoever that may be. Plan that ahead of time, get things in order, and work with that process. Whatever you're giving out with this distribution should have the service info and the ministry info connected to it. Use a sticky tag. Put a sheet together with information, a business card, anything that you can stick to that. It needs to be within the bounds of the rules of the facility that you're at. For 30 volunteers that you take in, which is usually right, you can visit about 300 people in that hour. About 5 minutes max per inmate. You don't want to spend a lot of time doing this. It takes away and it raises all kinds of questions. Time is valuable in those restricted areas in the prison. So be considerate of the facility and the rules. Remind yourself again, we're guests. We're there to accomplish one thing. That is to get the gospel in their hand. That is to be able to speak to them and make contact with them. So don't overrun your welcome. Each volunteer should be equipped with that response card and pen to record the inmates' information and what their decision is at that time. Hand out that distribution material from cell to cell. We need to remember not to get too close. Don't get your hands within the flap on the door. Remind yourself you are in a prison. There are things that go on there that publicly we probably don't need to talk about. But put yourself in a position where you don't have to worry about it. Ask them to reach their hands outside the cell door. Hand them the material then. Ask them if you can give them something. Remind yourself this is their home. Respect the inmate and their response. Some of them are going to say no. Some of them are going to approach that with a gruff attitude. Again, remind yourself where you're at. Remind yourself what you're there for, and be considerate of what they're doing. Is there anything we can pray for you about? Is one way to open the door of conversation. If there's a concern, you don't have to bow your head. The Lord knows that. You pray with them. The inmate understands where they're at. Follow the lead of the Spirit about sharing the gospel based on the open door of the inmate and what's going on there. If they mention something, if they share something that you can pray about, or they raise question because of the material that you've given them, use that as your opportunity to ask them further questions about their relationship with the Lord. Remember, keep it moving. You have about 5 minutes. This is normal. Only take longer if it's appropriate at the facility and your connection with the staff. Only take that time if it's appropriate because of the decisions that are being made there, and be sure that other volunteers around you are aware of that. Always have 2 people per team. One for sharing, the other for praying while that's going on. One can prep the next cell, and praying for the challenge in the front of the team is always important. What I mean by that is they can have the card out, they can have the candy ready, they can be filling out the response card as you're speaking. It takes less time that way. That's why we partner together. After the distribution is done, you need to gather your people together for debriefing. At the facility itself, keep it short. Get your count. Share some things that are on your heart there about what you've just seen, but don't stay too long, and move on. At the gathering place where you first started, focus on prayer for the issues raised during testimonies of these visits. You need to pray for those folks. Remind people that are with you to go back to their facilities, whether that's their church or their local ministry group, and pray for the things that have happened. The follow-up process. We need to direct them in what we're going to do with that. We need to share with them and give them directions for the service to come, meaning if this is a preemptive measure to get people to revival service, or you're starting a program or a plan there at the facility, let your volunteers and people that are helping you know what you're going to be doing next. Pray for the response that you've seen during that event. Please follow up within 2 weeks after the distribution. Use the info and send it to the inmates through proper channels. You may, through your church or ministry, have a P.O. box. That usually is the proper way to do that. Remember that you don't want to give out personal information, those kind of things, because it is a jail and they are inmates. But we want to be sure as we do this to have some type of follow-up. Work with the chaplain and the staff on contacting them and reconnecting with these inmates. They will allow you to do something in that process. Connect them to the regular services. There are already people who are ministering in those facilities. Know who they are. Try to get them the information of the inmates and the folks that have made decisions so that they can follow up. It's our challenge when we work together on these types of events. And in particular with this event that you're working on, be sure that you report the results to proper folks. If it's a statewide event, reconnect that to someone like Larry Baker or any of the other staff members at the Kentucky Baptist Convention, and do that within a week. We have found that the quicker you do that, you just end up getting more accomplished by keeping it on your mind and heart, so that the inmates and the folks that you're dealing with are not left behind in this process. Remind yourself it's not just an event. It's a process where we're sharing the gospel. It's a process where we're engaging lives, where we're working towards changing the hearts of men and women across this state. Remind yourself as you do this, preparation time is important. In closing, you need to be sure that you get your team together, prep them in a timely fashion, get their stuff from them, whether that's personal information, those kind of things. Keep them up to date with email and telephone calls. Inform proper people that are leading small groups that are connecting with you. Sit down and talk to the facility. Get on board with what they're doing. Make your plan. Have your materials ready. Find yourself a facility or place away from the prison or jail that you're at to have a gathering spot. Give them the rules and directions before you go. Be sure that while you're there, you follow the rules, you encourage the inmates, and remind yourself why you're there. As you close out your event, be sure that you get those responses recorded, information put back in order so that you can have follow-up. And in the future, just be sure that you remind yourself, pray for those that are making decisions. As we revisit what we've talked about during this time of preparation for putting things in the hands of inmates across the state, we want you to be reminded that you need to know the facility that you're going to, the staff and those kind of things, so that you can be well prepared in this process. Be sure that you make your visit to the facility and get things lined up well ahead of time, about a month or so. Get your contact list ready in time to have it cleared and things going in the right direction. Workers need to be kept up to date on a regular basis through different venues. Be sure that you settle on an off-site place for gathering so that you can work through the process the day of the distribution. When you're working through that mass distribution, remind yourself that you've got some options that you can do, cell to cell or a specific location. Be prepared with the items, whether that's the gum and the candy or the toothpaste and those kind of things. During your presentation time, remind yourself that the reason that you're there is to share the gospel. Be sure that you share with your people all the details of what you want them to do for that presentation. And when it's all said and done, the distribution is over, be sure that your people know that there needs to be a follow-up with what we're doing. Get that information to the folks that we're working with. Get that in line so that we can be successful in following up and encouraging these inmates that we're dealing with. The goal is to share the gospel. A lot of things have to be put in place to do that. You have seen through this process the details. Be sure you pray through it, put it in their hands, and allow God to do the rest. We hope that this information that you received today through this presentation will be helpful for you in your ministry in the distribution or other events that you are doing. For more information, you can call the number on your screen, or you can contact us at kybaptist.org.